Today's Homeworthy episode features the glamorous New York City apartment of interior designer Jamie Drake. His luxe home has 16-foot ceilings and is filled with bold color. It almost feels like a chic cocktail lounge. The pièce de résistance, an elevator that lifts his car directly up to his apartment. Be sure to like and subscribe for more home tours. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, welcome to my home. I hope you find it homeworthy. Come on in. I'm Jamie Drake, co-principal of Drake Anderson Interior Designers based here in New York City, and I'm welcoming you to my home here in New York City in Chelsea. Growing up, I always wanted to be a designer from a very young age. I resided in Woodbridge, Connecticut, a small town outside of New Haven, and as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, I had a backyard fort with my best friend, and he was in charge of sort of the heavy lifting, moving the big rocks around this pit that we have, which was our fort, our clubhouse, and I was in charge of antiques and decorating. That included me going into an abandoned barn, up the hill and down and through the woods, and finding rusted out wash basins, dusty old glass bottles, and those were the accessories that I had to work with. My apartment, you enter in directly off the elevator, which is the way my last apartment was too. Many people find that strange and surprising, but to me, that's the normal. So the entry here sets the stage, and straight ahead of you is a beautiful piece by Chuck Close, a wonderful artist whose use of color, I think, is something that resonates with me greatly. You know, one of the things that attracted me to this apartment when I bought it was very different than my last apartment. Here I was going to have a great room with an open kitchen. I've never in my entire life had an open kitchen before, but I live in a modern world. I never had a TV in my living room before, but now I live in a modern world. And so I was attracted to this giant, big, square great room. And there was no building for me to look at. So I was taking a leap of faith. And luckily, as a designer, I can envision space from a plan. And this really did turn out to be the drama that I wanted. Big, 32-foot square room, 16-foot ceilings, and everything is open. So often in our work, we have challenges. And one of the challenges in this room was there was a structural column centered or off-centered in the room. And I struggled with it for a while in my mind, and I thought, what do we do here? And people said, oh, mirror it, make it disappear. And it's like, this thing isn't disappearing no matter what. It was 36 inches square. And I decided to make it actually larger and more important. And I encased it on all four sides with millwork of quite complexity that gave me a way to divide the room in two and create two different zones. Here on this side is the TV. Living with a TV exposed for the first time in my life. There's storage underneath it. And then on the opposite sides, there are storage cabinets with beautiful woven steel and brass mesh inserts in the doors. And then on the opposite side, there are floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. You know, I really love having a TV in the living room because it turns out occasionally you do want to sit with people and watch TV. And so it worked in well here. The complexity of materials, I think, helps. So what I did here was there's ebonized, cerused white oak. There's gray lacquer. There is the woven metal and brass inserts on the doors. And then there are patinated steel corners that with exposed screws. So it's kind of brutalist in a way, but in an elegant way. And the TV fits in perfectly as another material in the same palette. So this is my idea of a media room. So this side is actually the sort of the more casual. I know to most people this doesn't look too casual, but I have this giant sofa that is one of the few pieces I brought over from my old apartment. And it's huge and it's wonderful. And for big groups, again, talking about entertaining, easily 6, 8, 9 people can join each other on this couch lined up in conspiratorial whispering. I bought this wonderful Harvey Prober swivel chair in Palm Springs, and I just love its big egg-shaped form. The cocktail table I designed, and we've done variations on it for clients over the years. This was the first time I did it, and it's absolute black marble and pure white marble joined together in this kind of runway pattern, whether it's a runway for an airplane to take off or a runway for a fashion show. See it as you wish. I did start to buy art because I love art when I signed the contract on the apartment, and one of the first things I bought was this beautiful sculpture by an Italian artist, and it's marble tires, and it's carved out of one piece of marble, but it's interlocking. And I started to collect things that I felt were rather indicative of the history of this block in this neighborhood in New York, which was taxi cab and car repair shops. I love a big coffee table, and especially in front of this big sofa. In its former incarnation, I actually had 2 cocktail tables, but you know, now I went with one big one. And it's a wonderful place to create a tablescape and things that give you a sense of delight and a sense of interest. A stack of books. Gracie Mansion, there's a book about a project that I worked on in 2002. A wonderful Salvador Dali brass clock face, melted clock face that I bought in the Paris flea market a million years ago. A dark, it looks like a black glass candlestick. It's actually the deepest, darkest blue, which you can only pick up in brilliant light, which I bought from an antique shop on Bleecker Street when Bleecker Street was filled with antique shops, long gone sadly. And this beautiful gilded chain is actually a necklace. And I wore it once, although I didn't wear it around my neck. I wore it on my hip at a fabulous party that Bronson Van Wyck gave in Mykonos, the Gods and Goddesses party, a great party. This cashpo is actually from a line I designed for a wonderful company called La Brazil, and it's a wastebasket. And there are matching tissue boxes and canisters that go with it, but I decided to repurpose it as a cashpo. And it's beautiful gilded ceramic made in Italy with this wonderful rough texture. It's called Valerie. So I did buy some new art for this apartment, and this giant wall above this giant sofa needed something very commanding. And I bought this beautiful photographic piece by the German artist Thomas Ruff, and it's so evocative to me, and it's playful, and it's mysterious, and again, thought-provoking. What is it? And actually, it's a mutated face, digitally mutated, but you can't see the face. Don't spend too much time staring at it. And again, it's the way that the colors layered together change. The same thing like the Bridget Riley I have, the Chuck Close, so many artists that I admire and have passion for. It's about the interaction of color, which I think speaks to me personally about my own work. I describe my design style, as we do at Drake Anderson, as bold, confident, witty, exquisite, sexy. Those are some of the essays actually in our new book that's coming out in September 20th of this year, 2022, published by Rizzoli, and it's called Bold, The Interiors of Drake Anderson. Every time I say the title, I put the emphasis on bold, which is how it's in the typeface on the cover. And we're really excited about that. But you know, it's urbane, the work we do. It has a sense of luxury, even if the textiles sometimes are more elemental. And we like a sense of wit and humor too. Not looking for belly laughs, but things that put a smile on your face and maybe make you think a little. You know, hard to know how my love for color came about, but probably because my mother was an artist. She was a painter. Gave it up early to raise 3 children, but she was a painter who studied at the Yale Art School. And my father was in the printing business. And I think going to that, the printing plant that he owned, and seeing these tubs of viscous ink and shiny, incredible intensity of color and depth because wet ink is like that, definitely infected my mind. When thinking about this apartment and what was offered, the kitchen was really a key factor to me. And so here we are in the kitchen that I have now. The kitchen that was part of the package was far from bad. It was designed by Annabelle Seldorf. How bad could it be? But there was a couple of major things for me. One was I really absolutely was insistent upon having Sub-Zero and Wolf appliances because I absolutely feel they are the finest in the industry. Secondarily, I thought the kitchen just felt a little tentative for my style. And it was this kind of warm, was it cherry wood or something? It just wasn't a color I responded to. It was very clever, but it wasn't for me. So I negotiated to buy without a kitchen. And for the closing, there was a little tiny, like a Susie Homemaker kitchen installed, because you have to get that for the C of O. But as I started to think about what I wanted a kitchen that, knowing it would be open, that looked really more like a wet bar. Didn't anticipate cooking myself, which I didn't for a very long time. But I wanted something that also served for entertaining well. So I do have the 4 counter stools at the end where I can sit down and have a meal by myself or with a few friends. But that, when I take the stools away, is a perfect setup for a bar. And that's where the bar gets set up. When I'm having a dinner, this is where the buffet gets set out. And it's enough space to set out an entire buffet, as I said, for, I've had, I think, as many as almost 100 people for dinner. I sketched this design freehand, and then we scanned it and put it in CAD and sent it off, and that's how it was done. There's a huge steel understructure. Corian, of course, is a perfect material to hide seams. This didn't come in one piece, but you can not find a seam. I defy you to find a seam. There is power worked into it for underneath, long before I knew I needed a home office at the other end. And again, it's a fabulous display piece. It's a wonderful statement. And then it rests atop a gilt box. And the gilt box has tons of storage in it. I think, like all designers, a surface is a place to be creative. And so once again, here I have stacks of books. I have a sculpture by the artist Reynaldo Sanguino. And what's so fun is when you buy something and they come together with other things you already own. So this very cute little animal I bought on a trip to Israel, a place I just went with great friends and really enjoyed. And this also came from Israel, a different place completely. And so you have this very high-end piece of art, and then this, which is truly kind of just a souvenir, and this, which is absolutely a beautiful work of art by a young ceramicist. What ties them all together is color, the orange. So that's how you bring it all together. Here was the perfect place for me to hang this 5-part painting by Ruben Toledo, the artist, and it climbs the wall. It brings your eye up to the ceiling. I think it's so important to really utilize the ceiling height. It is a fantasy take on a New York City skyscraper. It's neither the Chrysler Building nor the Empire State Building. It's kind of an amalgamation. The bar tray sits here, and it makes it easy to use and encourages conviviality. So here I am at my counter with these beautiful stools covered in this gorgeous hand-woven leather and metallic thread fabric. And, I've actually been here quite a few years. I've been here, I think it's almost 11 years. And over the course of time, I haven't changed much, but I reupholstered these recently, and I love them. And this, when I entertain, is the bar. The bar set up, and 2 bartenders can work here quite comfortably. We push this over a little bit, all works. And post-pandemic, or we're in it still, but as a result of being locked at home for so many months, I finally ordered a dining table and chairs. And I love it, and it turned out beautifully. And these are designs by me for Theodore Alexander. So these are the Jamie Drake collection for Theodore Alexander, both the table and the chairs. And someday soon I will have a seated dinner. And of course the top is another place for me to arrange a grouping of collectibles and things that I love and have come across over the years, including this 3D printed piece from Cultured Object, this wonderful ceramic vase from Patim Osmanaj, who does incredible paintings that look like crushed paper mountains, the glass snake by Rob Wynn, which I've owned for many, many years. Delightful things to look at and that have a conversation together. So as I mentioned, whimsy and wit are important to me in interiors. We all need to smile. And this is a fantastic piece by Jason Witcher. And it is kind of as if it's a disco ball crashed to the floor. The sneakers next to it are art pieces. I've never worn them. They were hand painted by a friend, Boris. And then towering here was another piece I bought specifically for this apartment before I ever closed. And it's an early work by Daniel Arsham. And it's kind of a concrete column to go back to the elemental nature of what this neighborhood was. I came to New York straight out of high school to go to Parsons School of Design, which I proudly sit on the board of now. And I had a great, strong education. Of course, New York was the perfect finishing school for everything else I wanted to learn about life. And, in the ensuing 44 years, it's 44 years now, and I've had my own business for 44 years, I've had the great pleasure of working on such a vast array of exciting and interesting projects. They've included a lot of different styles as well, since I lived through the height of the robber baron 80s, the steel Rothschild, more, marbleizing and everything striate and fauxed. And now we're in a much more modernist phase, and I enjoy change. Change to me is a very good thing. I find stagnation anathema. I've had the good fortune to work for a lot of very influential and exciting and dynamic people. One of the greatest good fortunes I have had in my career was to oversee the restoration, redecoration, and historic preservation of New York City's Gracie Mansion, the official mayoral residence, in 2002. And that was for the administration of Michael Bloomberg. And Mike, I consider a very, very great friend, and he's been a client of mine for 36, 37 years now. So Gracie Mansion hadn't been really substantially touched since the Koch administration, so that was 20 years before. And much of the really physical plant hadn't been attended to since the Lindsay administration in the 60s. None of the bathrooms had been redone since the 60s. So the house was rather sad. It needed some love, and it was an opportunity to not just give it love, but to really refresh it and bring it to a point of pride for all New Yorkers. And it really did become the people's house. Mike never spent a night in the house. He never lived in the house. He had the good fortune to have a Jamie Drake designed house 20 blocks away, and not even 20. And so he really opened the entire house to New Yorkers for events and for public tours, for school groups, for children. And it was a really exciting phase in the history of Gracie Mansion. So the second seating grouping in this marvelous giant room I have is what I think is the more kind of formal cocktail grouping. And it has this big L-shaped sofa covered in this beautiful white texture. 11 years, and the white is still good. Haven't had any major accidents, but it's nice because it's a little firmer and it's a little more upright, which is good for a conversational cocktail hour rather than on the TV side where it's deeper and maybe you actually allow yourself to doze off. Another cocktail table I designed where the wonderful striato marble is laid in a parquet pattern. And yes, the color is here, and it comes out of pieces such as this beautiful painting by Jean Lau. That's Lau, L-O-W-E. But she is a wonderful artist whose original work that I knew for years was papier-mâché. And I never knew she was a painter. And then my dear friend Valerie McKenzie mounted a show at her gallery, McKenzie Fine Art, of her paintings. And I was so taken with this. And I borrowed this for the first Christmas party I was going to have to hide over an outlet that's back there. It was just the perfect size. And the only thing I was disappointed with is most of Jean's work from this series has a very lewd element in it. One of the little gnomes is either mooning you or doing something else. But I ended up keeping it because it's absolutely just perfect and it just suited me immediately. Hanging above the Jean Lau painting is one of my favorite pieces that I've had for a very long time. It is a sculpture by Michael Combs. And Michael Combs grew up as the son and grandson of master duck decoy carvers. And he took that in another direction. So this water box is not any dead animal under there. It is hand carved by him and then encased in this black leather zippered cover. And so it's a statement, I guess, on hunting and the lack of freedom of the animals that are hunted, Of course, it has a very sexual noir atmosphere to it, and I do enjoy it, and again, it's very provocative. You know, this arrangement of cushions and pillows are the beautiful accents that bring things together, and this one is one of my favorite ones. This is actually woven from peacock feathers. So I have this floor-to-ceiling bookcase here, and people ask, well, how do you read the book on the top shelf? Chances are I'm not going back to reread those books. The ones that I really want to access, I keep more at height level. But the wonderful thing about a bookshelf like this is not only is it a place to keep your library and the things that you've enjoyed reading and may want to reference again, but it's a wonderful way to arrange the stuff of life. And we all have stuff. Things maybe we bought on vacation that we bring back and think, oh, that looks so good in Tibet, but it doesn't look such high quality here, or something that somebody gives you that's meaningful to you. This metal car back here was given to me by very dear friends for my 30th birthday. That's long ago. And what a wonderful place for it to be. And then these were given to me by another friend, Balik. I don't think I would ever buy Balik for myself, but the fact that it was given to me by a dear friend means something to me. And so it gives it a place where it all can be contained and arranged, and the various memories are there. In the powder room, it was delivered with these wonderful pyrolave walls and the countertop. All I did was ebonize this wood on the vanity, but I wrapped the walls and the ceiling with a beautiful custom colored wallpaper from the Artful workshops. It's called Newport, and then hung and displayed art in it. There's a series of 4 etchings by Francois Gillot of the 4 seasons. And then perched on a bench is a painting that my mother did, and a very, very, very early drawing that I did in crayon that my mother had framed 60 years ago or so. So they talk to each other. So, you know, it's nice to have a flower in a powder room. This one happens to not be real. It is spectacular. It's a beautiful quality paper flower. It's not plastic or silk. I really like it, and it was given to me by a dear friend, so it puts a smile on my face. So now, this is my bedroom. This is the primary bedroom. And just as in the living room, I first had to do a little correction to some of the architectural elements, the construction elements. There was a singular beam that went from here over to there, down about 15 inches, and the whole room felt lopsided. Since the ceiling heights are so tall everywhere, I decided to drop the ceiling around the perimeter to keep a evenness, and then but pop it up in the center to capture the full height. And there I put slats of peach-colored mirror to reflect life beautifully. This room had a challenge though, because it really didn't have a bed wall if I also wanted to store my clothes. So I floated the bed in the center of the room, and the headboard also contains a very large dresser for all my folded needs. I wrapped it in the striato marble, which connects to the cocktail table in the living room. And I chose to do it in this very, very, very dark gray, in a lacquered finish, high gloss. And I like a dark room to sleep in, but I like a dark room during the daytime too. This one is flooded with light, but I love its mystery and its romance, its sensuality. And I decided to accent it with this corally pink. And I think it's perfectly masculine. Many people would say pink for a man's bedroom, but I think it's very nice and I'm very happy in it. It's beautiful. It could be a flamingo. It could be a beautiful piece of Persian coral. I actually like to sleep on a stack of pillows. They have to be down in feather, but I do sleep with my 3 pillows. And they're accented with this wonderful bolster that was custom fabricated by Arabelle Taggart, and these beautiful satin pillows, a textured bed cover. It's not a fancy bed arrangement. It's comfortable. A fur throw with another throw layered on top of it. Great classic Cedric Hartman lamps, go up and down and twist, so they're perfect for reading, but beautiful atmospheric light. On the top of the dresser headboard, an arrangement again of objects that mean something to me. A painting I bought 1,000,000 years ago that has very celestial, great dreams, colorful dreams. A little sculpture, bronze sculpture of a frog by my friend Lindsay, who I met in high school. and she went on to go to Parsons at the same time I did. A sculpture my mother did at Yale Art School, this beautiful bust of a woman, and other gifts and things. Another friend made that. So the talismans of life, the things that give you memory, I think give me comfort. I love three-dimensional wall pieces, sculptures that attach to a wall or a ceiling. And behind me here, by the artist Rooney Olson, I have a marvelous piece of squirrels climbing up the wall, and it is made out of masking tape and graphite, and it is appropriately titled, literally, squirrels. Opposite the bed, there's more storage. There's cabinets behind me, and then at the end, there are two tall floor-to-ceiling cabinets with mirrored doors that hold shoes, folded sweaters, jeans, things like that. And between them, there's the TV, so I can watch from bed, and underneath it, a desk. The desktop is where I keep my family pictures, my friend pictures. Here, I've got my my maternal grandparents, my paternal grandparents, my late parents and brothers at their 40th anniversary party, dear friends from college, dear friends who I were in Ireland with, my mother and father at City Hall, and so keep them all together. The color in the bedroom, or what is the accent color, becomes the entire full color in the bathroom. The bathroom, once again, was as it was delivered, and it's gorgeous and with luxurious understated materials. The pyrolave wainscoting and countertop, the solid granite bathtub. So it's pretty chic and nice. I made it my own by, once again, ebonizing the vanity and the frame of the medicine cabinets and mirrors so that it wasn't this reddish cherry that just wasn't my kind of color. And then I enveloped the space, the upper walls and the ceiling, in beautiful polished Venetian plaster by the Alpha Workshops in this incredible coral color. And so it makes things glow. It makes it my own. I also hung wonderful art, a beautiful rondelle, it's sequins and glitter on a white base, and this great three-dimensional Sputnik thing hanging up above it. One of the unique features of this building is its car elevators. So it has an elevator that brings each resident's car up to their own floor. Having your own parking space at your home is kind of a suburban adventure, isn't it? And so, just like in any suburban house, there's a back hallway, kind of a mudroom. There's laundry behind this door. There's housekeeping supplies, but I did make it my own with this fabulous wall covering from Trove that was digitally printed, these black birds flying everywhere. And it was a perfect place for me to hang these two paintings that I did as a teenager. And as we continue on, down the stairs we go. Painting by my mother hangs here in the back hall. I love it. I love it. She would kill me if she was still alive that I put it in the back hall. And here we are in the elevator. I mean, in the garage, not the elevator yet. So to access the elevator, it will come up from the ground floor. It's very interesting. It works very well, I have to say. And I absolutely did not buy this apartment because of this garage elevator feature, as sexy and unique as it is in New York City. But it certainly has proved to be a wonderful, wonderful convenience, especially on a pouring rain day or a heavy snowstorm where you actually don't even have to walk half a block away. So the elevator comes up and I would drive forward, get in, it would go down, and I would exit on the other direction. So my apartment was first published in Architectural Digest, and Margaret Russell was the editor-in-chief at the time and was very enthusiastic about that, except she said I had to do one thing before she would shoot it, which was to finish decorating and designing the garage. And so she gave me the reason that I went on to put this wonderful wallpaper, this mylar back, very striated wallpaper called Skyscraper from Dongia, a slat ceiling like a revisitation from the 70s that used to be in all sorts of malls and offices, a wonderful chandelier from Ralph Pucci, and then this cool purple awning over the door. Home to me is a retreat, is a nest, is a place of comfort, the place that you ultimately feel the most at home at.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.